live both. Looks like Twitter's up. Don't see it up on the YouTube yet. There it is. Alrighty. All right, welcome in everyone to this special episode of the Bat Flip Podcast. Damien and Matt here with you today, and we're just going to be talking about Shohei Ohtani because he might have just had legitimately the greatest game of all time and hit the 50-50 mark today on September 19th. He went 6 for 6 today with 3 homers, 2 doubles, 2 stolen bases, a single, 10 RBIs. Just absolutely incredible. One of those doubles was almost another homer, which if it was in Dodger Stadium would have been a 4th homer. And the other double, he got thrown out going for a triple, trying to get the cycle. Just absolutely incredible game here, but also the season. And we're just going to break down everything. But Matt, what is your initial kind of reaction and just to the moment that Shohei hit 50-50 and what his season has looked like in a whole?
Yeah, I mean it's been remarkable. We've talked about in the past, him being a pitcher and a hitter. That if he's so good at both, that's definitely what he needs to be doing is both because he can. But that if he ever did focus in on one or the other, he would be the best in the game at it. And this year with his injury on his his pitching and not being able to throw, it's been locked in on hitting this year, and that's gone to show exactly what he can do if he's just a hitter, which is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, you look at the 50-50 thing, and there's going to be talk about the historic nature of it, with the stolen base part of it. We heard all the talk about it last year with Ronald Acuna's season, with the rule changes affecting the stolen bases. But I mean, even if he didn't have 50 stolen bases, say you cut that to like 60% because of just the rule changes and stuff. 50 homers and 30 steals. It's a historic season that's really never happened before. So that's just what's so incredible about this season from Shohei is it's really remarkable what he's done. I mean, he's been the best offensive player in baseball this year. Probably been the best offensive player in baseball. Well, I'd say that Judge might be, for this season in overall of baseball. I think it's hard to beat Judge, honestly, but he's got a 213 WRC plus. But yeah, Shohei. I mean, this is just such a historic season. He's deserved of winning an MVP award, which is. And I'm somebody who's on the side of DHs aren't as valuable, so it's harder for me to get on board with them winning MVP awards. I mean, I do tend to go more toward that side more than other people do, but in this case, I mean, Shohei is that DH that can win MVP because he's been so good, and he's added value in ways other than just hitting home runs too. I mean, he's got a 370 on base percentage, and he's obviously with the base running. I mean, it's incredible. So congrats to Shohei. If he was pitching this year and put up these numbers, this could possibly be like the greatest baseball season of all time, which kind of makes it feel, it's kind of a shame that he's not pitching because of that. Because that would just be just wild. But yeah, what a great season from Shohei Ohtani. He's been fantastic. It's historic. It's something that hadn't been done before. And that's the type of thing we love baseball for, is just things that have never been done before that are, that they happen occasionally. You never know what you might see. So this is just what a cool accomplishment for him.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing something that literally predates the 1900s. That this has never ever been done in the history of baseball. We are incredibly lucky to see something of this, stature, of this nature. This moment and this season will be talked about forever. and we're able to witness it right now. I mean, this is literally our Babe Ruth. I mean, like the way people played Babe Ruth up, from that time to how great he is now, and then the great we know, like Otani's going to be just in that category as well. The 50-50 number, like that's the nice round number. Like he had already been the first person to ever do this, but like just the level of things that he's able to do, and it's worth mentioning that like this guy is a year removed from Tommy John surgery. Like he's still rehabbing from Tommy John surgery at this moment, right? Like so that is a big thing that happened before this season and coming into it. But also, what about everything that happened at the beginning of this season with the whole scandal, the gambling scandal, and everything with eBay, and for him to just be able to go through all of that, deal with the recovery from Tommy John as well, and put up this level of a season, it's just I don't. It's hard to really put into words what it really means. And I know it's a little bit more special for me being a fan of the Dodgers, getting to see it every single day, getting to see what he's able to do, and the whole encompassing of the game, and not just what the media puts out there. Like, I think if he's pitching, I don't think you're able to see this type of season. I don't think he runs as much. I think he maybe has a couple more off days. Like, I don't think this is a season that you'll be able to see ever be repeated before, or, again, I should say. Especially by anyone like Shohei Ohtani, even himself. Like, but man, like it's very hard to put into words what this type of a season is, and what it really, really means when you dive down into it, outside of just what the number value looks like.
Yeah, I mean that's that. I agree with you. I agree with you on that, and it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see next year when he is pitching again. At least as the plan is for him to pitch again, and we hope he's able to get back to that. What it looks like. Is he gonna just keep doing this offensively and then pitch too? Like I wouldn't. I mean, there's a world where that happens. Like it's remarkable. And one other thing with Shohei Ohtani this year that I think hasn't really been talked about that much, and it's not a huge deal, but he's really in the same way that we talked about Acuna last year having the historic season. Shohei Ohtani's underperformed some of his metrics at the plate too. A 430 x WOBA expected on base average, and his weighted on base average is a 407. So, and of course that X WOBA number is a number that is supposed to, it's a WOBA is a stat that kind of encompasses everything in a batter's, in a batter's profile, and then puts it on a scale that's supposed to mimic on base percentage. So like if you have a 400 on base percentage, that's like elite, right? Well, he's got a 430 expected number on that, which is like insane, and a 407 actual number, which is insane. And it's insane. It's even more insane that he's like underperforming what he could be doing because of the just it's a little bit of, I guess, bad luck. That's probably most of it. It's just probably baseball's a weird game, and you can have some bad luck. So, what an incredible season for him. I mean, I'm just I don't know if there's it's hard to put it into words. I mean, it's there's not too much you can say about it, honestly.
Yeah, there really isn't. I mean, and just to add on to what you're talking about, him underperforming his expected numbers. I mean, you talked about the WOBA there, but even if you go to the simple stats, a lot of people know is the batting average and the slugging percentage, right? Slugging percentage after today's game, which the expected numbers haven't even added that in. So I guess let's say it beforehand. Going into today, his slugging percentage was 607. His expected slugging was 642. Going into today, his batting average was 287. His expected batting average is 307. Like, that's just heading into today. Like, so when you're talking about him underperforming the numbers while putting up this level of a season already as well, like it goes much deeper than than that. And he's almost running a 60% hard hit percentage rate this year. Like, that's crazy. His strikeouts are at an all-time low, a career low in strikeout percentage this year. He's walking a little bit less than he had the past couple years, but he's hitting the ball harder than ever, and he's swinging a lot more than ever. it's just, man, we initially came into this thinking like, hey, we're gonna talk for like however long this leads, and it's like we're at the 10-minute mark right now, and we're speechless. Like, what else can we say that puts into words what this season means for Shohei Ohtani and what this season means for baseball as a whole, as something that we've never been done before, or never been, that we've never seen before, or anyone even really get remotely close to, kind of. And there's still 9 games left. Like, there's a shot that he gets 55-55. Like, I don't think 60-60 is in reach, but like, do you count Shohei Ohtani out as somebody who could just get extremely hot over 9 games?
I doubt he hits 10 home runs in 9 games, but
Well, he needs 9. He just needs one
or
home run.
9 home runs in 9. That's a lot, but I think he could get the stolen bases. Maybe. I mean, the thing that's difficult about that is that if he hits a lot of home runs, he's not going to steal many bases because
Right.
he's going to be not on first to steal second. I mean, he'll be touching the plate. So, if he's in order to steal a lot of bases, he's going to have to be getting on base, which getting on first, getting on second, which is not a home run. So when you have a limited amount of time left, gets difficult to do both at the same time. Sure. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's theoretically possible that he just gets insanely hot, but either way, I mean, it's just been super impressive this year, and and just it's just one of those things that's like you see things in other sports this compares to, stuff like like individual accomplishments, stuff like the Tiger Slam where Tiger Woods won 4 straight majors. Like, you talk about stuff like the like Wilt Chamberlain averaging 50 points in a game that's never been done and it's never really gotten close to. Like, that's something that the baseball's been going on for this long, and this has never happened before, or it's just it's really wild to see. I mean, I'm or 2,000 receiving yards is one in football that's been happening the last few years, where there's been guys getting into that 1,900, getting really close, but they're missing it by like 50 yards. Nobody's ever done 2,000 receiving yards in a season. That's kind of the way Shohei's been one that's accomplished that type of feat, and it's just it's awesome. Good for Shohei. I'm excited to see how he finishes up this year. I'm excited to see him in the postseason.
Yeah.
That's probably, if you asked Shohei, what's your favorite part about this season, your favorite accomplishment for this season, he's probably going to say making the postseason because he's never done that before. And I think he wants to win. So that's really cool. And, we'll see what happens there. Obviously, we'll see about the World Series thing, if he's able to accomplish that, because I think he probably will at some point. I don't know about this year with the injuries the Dodgers have in the rotation, but it's going to be very interesting to see, and we'll man, it's hard to believe. So
yeah, we'll hit more on the Dodgers pitching situation and stuff this next week when we're breaking down that Padres series. But I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, they talked to Shohei after the thing, and he was just like, I wanted to get this done over as fast as possible, so like, we can move on and we can try and focus towards the rest of the season and go into the postseason. And I mean, today's game is what clinched their postseason spot. I mean, obviously they still have the fight for the division there with the Padres, but like, just, yeah, I mean, I'm left speechless, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, that division race is still tight. So, we'll see about that. It'll be interesting. And again, we'll talk about it more on Monday. But yeah, I mean, Shohei Ohtani, man, I have been somebody who has been a skeptic of his for a long time, just as in, not necessarily, saying that what he's not doing is not impressive or something, but just I've been skeptical of him having another level. I've been skeptical of him being able to continue what he's done. And in some ways I've been right because he hasn't pitched this year. That's kind of part of the skepticism about it. But I mean, like, Shohei hitting 50 home runs in a game, or in a season, I mean, there's a world where I've always kind of thought that might happen. Shohei stealing over 50 bases. I mean, at this point, it's like, my God, dude. That's the thing that's crazy to me. I mean, he's known as a slugger. He came over from Japan. He's a big guy. Like, if things really clicked offensively, you always thought that 50 home runs might be in there. But man, 50 stolen bases for a guy like him is just crazy.
Yeah.
I'm speechless about that part.
I mean, his career high was 26 coming into this
Yeah.
year. And really, like his whole stolen base barrage really started after Mookie Betts went on the IL when he got his hand broken on Father's Day, and they moved Shohei to the leadoff spot. I think they said since the beginning of July, I think July 1st, he's had 35 stolen bases since July 1st. So like that's when this really took off, right? Like we never saw Shohei in the leadoff spot before, and like ever since he's went to that, like his game has just elevated to an absolute different level. That we've just, it's just incredible. He was having a good season up until that point, but man, like after he got to that leadoff spot, that's when everything really took off there. And I know I mentioned this in our group chat and that, and somebody was like, they should just have him DH forever again. And it's like, even if he DHs for all the time and he's able to give you, let's say, close to this level of production, does that make him like, it's $700 million is still almost worth it at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. The craziest thing about his season this year is if you look at WAR, this is his fourth best season. Just because of
combined WAR, yeah.
I guess if you combine the pitching and the hitting, I mean, like 2021, I believe he was at about 10. Last year, I believe he was at about 10. 2022, he was like around 9. So this would be, and he's at 7 this year only as a hitter. So, you're looking at this being his least valuable season over the last 4, just off of that.
And I think he's actually at like 7.4 now. It hasn't updated.
Yeah, it hadn't updated. It's 7. It's over 7. It's 7.3, 7.4. But either way, it's still 2 full WAR below his career, his last 3 years. I mean, and that is not a knock at Shohei Ohtani's season. That's a compliment to his season. Yeah. And saying that, like, for one thing, you take out an entire facet of his game and he's still this valuable. And it's a compliment to Shohei Ohtani and saying, hey, look, this guy's even better than this usually when he's fully healthy. So, while the offensive numbers might not be exactly the same, especially as you mentioned the stolen base part of it, the pitching numbers are going to make up for that because, I mean, Shohei Ohtani, and we'll see how he comes back as a pitcher because, second Tommy John or internal brace, you never know about that. But, back in 2022, the last time he had a full healthy pitching season, last year he wasn't quite as good, but, he was starting to deal with the injuries a little bit during the season last year. So you can maybe chalk some of that up to injury. 2022, he was worth 5.6 WAR as a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a 240 FIP, a 233 ERA, and he threw 166 innings, which, that's not like a crazy amount. Shohei's always been limited on the amount of innings just because of the wear and tear that takes. But, 166 innings is not that far off of being I think some of the, like 180 innings is kind of that threshold of like Cy Young contenders usually. They usually get to about 180 innings. But, that's kind of where, like, I mean, he's not that far below that. So, yeah. It's just nuts with him, and it's a privilege for us to get to watch it for real.
Oh, for sure. And you mentioned his career high with the pitching's 5.6. That's the same WAR as Tarek Skubal has this year.
Yeah.
And like who we're talking about, it's like the AL, Cy Young. And if you want to say like, okay, well, like what is his career like this season? If he was lower than his career WAR, in those combined seasons, let's say you need to add 2 WAR, right? Like that's kind of the number we were looking at. You're talking about somebody who's like a Luis Severino, Ronel Blanco, Jameson Taillon level season. Like those are the type of pitchers that Ohtani would have to be this year just to tie that. Like he can easily reach that mark. It's just, this is an all-time great season that we will be talking about for forever. I mean, and I don't know how much more there is to say about it other than just like what he did is incredible. We will be lucky to ever see a season like this again. And I felt like we just had to come on here the day that he did it and just talk about how incredible this season is and what he was able to do with everything that has been going on and in general. because we do want to focus on our episodes this next week, breaking down those big series that are going to happen. But this felt like a noteworthy topic to definitely go in there and talk about. And I mean, this should probably shut down the MVP discussion race now. Like, right? Like, after today, he's gonna have jumped Francisco Lindor in WAR. I know Lindor's dealing with his own issues at this point, but like 9 games left in the season, how much is there really going to be a difference? Like, Ohtani should probably be the unanimous MVP at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ohtani will get the MVP. I mean, you look at him probably. I mean, we don't know how much WAR this game has added. I think there's a live leaderboard. I might be able to find it, but
I saw something say that he jumped Francisco Lindor in WAR, and Francisco Lindor is at 7.4. So he's at 7 right now. So
it might have been
at
B-WAR
probably
too.
No, it was F4.
It was F4. Okay.
Yeah. So he probably added either 0.4 or 0.5 WAR this game.
Yeah. So his WRC plus went up 7 points. I did see that. But yeah, I mean, I think definitely in some ways, as in we talked about last year with Acuna versus Betts. Acuna had the historic stolen base power season, 40-70, and that was kind of the trump card of it. Like, this season is now historic. It's never been done before, whereas Mookie Betts is really good, but this has been done before. And that's kind of what you're looking at this year with Lindor versus Shohei. Lindor's an incredible player, and he's carried the Mets, and he's been awesome for them. But, what Shohei's done now, even though the values are real similar, it's a historic season at this point. So you're going to see him get that nod for sure. And I think, and I think it's deserved. I mean, like I said, even as a guy who doesn't believe fully in the, in DHs being as valuable as other players, like what Shohei has done trumps that. It doesn't matter. I mean, because he's been so incredible. Like, he's still been so far beyond better than the second best DH. I mean, which probably Marcell Ozuna, I guess, but in the National League at least. So that's what's the that's what's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah. Real quick, David wanted us to say that the fact that there was even a discussion or a debate about the NL MVP was hilarious. So
yeah, well, it's
David,
just Mets fans being Mets fans.
Yeah, well, I mean, East Coast bias too. We have reporters saying that Francisco Lindor should still win, but hey,
well, no, it's Mets fans. They'll get their hearts ripped out Tuesday through Thursday next week. So
yeah. But yeah, that we will probably wrap it right here. Like I said, we'll be back on Monday to break down those big series that are going to happen this weekend or this next week for the big division or wild card races. But we definitely had to stop in and talk about Ohtani here for a little bit. But anything you want to touch on real quick, Matt, about this before we head off?
I don't think so. We'll be back Monday, of course, to go in depth. But it's a very interesting things going on in the last few days. The Detroit Tigers are now tied for the last wild card spot. I think we should probably mention that. That might be an even bigger surprise than Shohei getting 50-50 after they sold at the deadline. So good for the Tigers, and the Twins are just collapsing, and it's kind of crazy. I thought that might be worth a mention there. As another kind of big deal going on right now. That's all that playoff race stuff is interesting at this point. So, but we'll discuss that a lot more on Monday. We'll have more. We'll be further in on Monday to where we are in the race. So we'll have more evidence of what's going to happen. So.
Yeah, and we'll get more fallout and definitely David's reaction to Ohtani's tweet there. But anyways, this is going to wrap up this episode. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys back here next Monday.